If there's one thing common among the highest-grossing films of the 21st century, it's that most of them include extremely elaborate action sequences. There are the gigantic sinking ships of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise, the fireworks and explosive work in Michael Bay's Transformers, and the street bikes, crashing through the glass and speeding beneath 18-wheelers, of The Dark Knight. With each year these sequences become more ambitious and more expensive while turning all the more dangerous. And the people who bring them to life are the invisible, undervalued warriors of Hollywood, whose days consist of car crashes and fire burns and jumps from altitude so high it is beyond our imagination, are the stunt performers. Both stunts and stunt performers have come a long way, and before we delve into that story, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel. The history of stunts is similar to the history of cinema itself. It started off scrappy and makeshift, but as the technology improved, the stunts become more and more sophisticated and integral to the stories being told. The 1900s is when it all began. Back then, if a scene required someone to hang off a building, the production would find someone who was willing to do so whilst they filmed it. Action films hadn't found their footing, so stunt work began to rise in comedy. The first mainstream stunt performers were usually the clowns and comedians. Around the 1920s, comedians, Buster Keaton and Charlie Chaplin, established themselves as huge stars. However, they chose to do all his stunts themselves, and usually at great risk. During the railway scene in Sherlock Jr., a water tank opens on Keaton and the gush of water even broke Keaton's neck. This is when Hollywood realized the worth of their stars and was less likely to let them risk their own lives. The first film which is credited with using safety devices was ironically titled Safety Last. The stunts in the movie were achieved using a number of different ways. Till the 1930s, the presence of stunt performers was a Hollywood secret. Studios wanted the audience to believe that the stunts were being performed by the stars themselves, but as the stunts were becoming more dangerous to perform, studios didn't want to hype them up to perform dangerous stunts and put an end to their careers. It is then a series of innovations that were introduced to improve the safety of stunt performance forever. As the 30s came to a close, and Hollywood entered the 40s, stuntmen also started coming together. A group of stuntmen called the Cousins helped each other develop their stunt work and techniques. Then came the Stunt Pads. While previously stuntmen took pride in how much damage their bodies could take, some realized that by wearing padding they could do more stunts each day. Thunder Road, a movie that released in 1958, kicked off the era of the car chase. Modern action movies were introduced to the audience, and the demand for these movies shot up, and so did the accident rate. The 50s was a landmark era for stunt performers. The effects of the developments both on-screen and off-screen can still be felt today. The 1960s brought in a great change for the stunt performers. The stuntmen by then were open to new ideas and new technology which could be used to create more impressive and dynamic stunts, whilst making them safer for multiple takes. This new technology included air rams, a device that is used to simulate an explosion. The use of airbags also became widely prolific. Bullet squibs were also introduced. They made shootouts look more believable and bloodier and helped stunt performers sell that they had been shot. James Bond made the biggest dent in the cultural fabric of action cinema. Between the fights, the style, and the stunts, James Bond had impacted the stunt industry. The 1970s steered in a kind of renaissance for stunt performers. The decade started with the rise in popularity of martial arts movies, English-dubbed movies produced in Hong Kong, which starred martial artists in the main roles. Bruce Lee and Jackie Chan emerged to be the most prominent performers. 1975 marked a huge breakthrough with the movie The Master Gunfighter, where stuntmen and stuntwomen received credits for their work for the first time. This led to an increased interest in stunt performers from the public and even turned stunt performers into celebrities. The rise of stunt performers in the 1970s continued into the 80s, and their presence was greatly felt as we entered the golden age of action movies. The 1980s marked the birth of the high-concept films that went on to create household names of Sylvester Stallone, Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Claude Van Damme. Testosterone-fueled action films also started to blend stunt work with special and visual effects. People falling from skyscrapers, blasting back by explosions, and fighting invisible aliens. With the advent of the summer blockbuster in the 1970s, with numerous films like Star Wars and Jaws, a demand to recreate the same success every summer grew in Hollywood. Similar to Star Wars, George Lucas and fellow director Steven Spielberg delved into the past to create the future. While Star Wars came from a love of sci-fi serials, Indiana Jones was based on the action-adventure serials of the 30s and 40s. It weaved its old-fashioned narrative with state-of-art filmmaking techniques, to create something familiar and yet very new all at the same time. These movies relied heavily on its stunt performer and made a celebrity out of stuntman Vic Armstrong. In the 1990s, blockbuster filmmaking blew up, budgets skyrocketed, and the box office was doing better than ever. And then began the decade where CGI came to be used alongside traditional screen action and stunts to create more breathtaking sequences. Movies like Jurassic Park, Titanic, The Matrix, and Star Wars, Episode I: The Phantom Menace used the concept of CGI successfully, astonishing the audience at the blending of computer wizardry and animatronic puppetry. While Superman made you believe a man could fly, Jurassic Park made you think it was possible for a T-Rex to come back to life and eat a lawyer sitting on the loo. The Matrix invented bullet time, which utilized a rig of cameras set out in a circle that gave the illusion of time slowing down, as the camera whirled around wire-assisted martial arts. Titanic recreated history at a huge scale, all this whilst being completely believable. The 2000s saw a huge leap in CGI technology. Motion capture became an art form. Gollum in The Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers showed exactly how the perfect blend of acting talent and technology could create a fully believable character. The progress over the next 20 years resulted in Avatar, War of the Planet of the Apes, Tintin, and Alita, Battle Angel, all showcasing photorealistic CGI characters. As technology continues to grow, there exists a fear that CGI will replace real-life actors and stunt performers, but so far this fear has been unfounded. Audiences are fully aware of when and what they are watching is completely CGI. Evidently, there has been a huge change in the world of stunts since the start of cinema. Technology and techniques have evolved to make it better and safer. The politics too have changed, allowing us to celebrate individual stunt performers, but one thing remains unchanged: it takes a huge amount of skill, talent, and dedication to be a stunt performer. Yes, technology has made it safer, but it is never completely safe. That's why stunt performers are still needed. They have to be brave enough to risk injury and death, all in the name of entertainment and storytelling.